We continue now at the top of Daf Nun Aleph, Amud Aleph in Meseches Nazir. This is Nazir Daf 51a. The Gemara says, Tanu Rabbanan, the rabbis taught, this is from the Tosefta, a zehu meis sheyesh lo rekev, what is considered to be a corpse that has dust, meis shenikvar arim, let's say you have a dead body that is buried naked, ba'aron shel sheish, in a casket that's made of marble, or al gabi ritzba shel avonim, or on a floor of stone, zehu meis sheyesh lo rekev, that's considered a mace that has dust. Nikvar biksuso ba'aron shel eitz, so al gabi ritzba shel avonim, let's say the mace is buried in his garment, or in a wooden casket, or on top of a floor of brick. Zehu meis she'ein lo rekev. That's considered a mace that has no dust. And the point over here is, since there's other items that are mixed in that decompose together with the mace, so once there are items decomposing together and there's a mixture, that's not considered to be rekev. And the Gemara continues, Amar Ula says, Ein rekev ela haba min habasar, umin ha'agidim, umin ha'atzamos. It's not considered dust unless it comes from a combination of the flesh and of the sinews and of the bones. Eisvei Rava Ula, Rava asks Ula the following question: Rekev haba min habasar tar. If you have dust that comes from the flesh, that's considered pure. It's not considered rekev. Hamino etzim tami. Now it sounds hamino etzim tami. It sounds like it's saying that if it comes from the bone, that's considered impure. The afagav, like a basar. It sounds like even though there's no flesh, the bone alone is enough to make it considered to be rekev. And so the Gemara says, Eimahachi, what it should be is as follows: Rekev haba min habasar tar. If it comes from the flesh, if the dust comes from the flesh, it's pure. Ad sheyesh etzem bebasar. But as long as once you have bone mixed together, it's also coming from the bone together with the flesh, that's considered tameh. But the Gemara says, but still you haven't answered the question because there's no sinews. And the original statement of Ula was it has to be flesh and sinews and bones. And the Gemara says to that, it's impossible once you have flesh and you have bones, it's impossible not to have gidim also. You're going to have sinews automatically, and that's why in such a situation it's going to be considered the dust from the corpse, it's going to be considered tameh. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Shmuel bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan. Rav Shmuel bar Abba says that Rav Yochanan says, Shnei mesim shekavren zeh im zeh. Let's say you have two dead bodies that are buried together with one another. Nasa gilgalin zeh lazeh. So it becomes a mixture with one another, meaning the dust that emerges from that is not considered to be corpse dust, not considered to be tameh. Mesav Rav Nasan asks, Rekev habami beis mesim tameh. It says the exact opposite. If you have dust that comes from two mesim, that's considered tameh. And the Gemara answers, Amar Rava says, Shekavru zev ifnei atzmo v'zev ifnei atzmo. That's talking about a situation where each body is buried independently, separately, v'yerkivu, and then they rot separately, v'yamdu al molei tar v'rekev. And then only after that, each one has turned to dust, and you combine the dust, and it's a full ladle, so then it's considered to be tameh. But if it's happening and they're deteriorating together, so then that's considered a mixture, and that's not considered to be rekev. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rava bar Chana, Amar Rav Yochanan. Rava bar Chana says that Rav Yochanan says, Gazaz saro, if you cut off the hair of the mace, v'kavro and bury it together with the mace, nasa lo gilgal. And again, it's going to be considered to be a mixture, not going to be considered rekev. And the Gemara continues, Tanan Hasam, we learned in the Mishnah over there, this is a Mishnah from Alos, Kol shebemeis tameh, chutz min hashinayim, v'hasar v'hatziporen. All parts of the dead body are tameh except for the teeth and the hair and the fingernails. Uveshas chiburn, but if the items are attached to the body still, so kulan tameh, and so they're all going to be tameh. Boy, Chizkiah asks the following question: Saro ha'omid legalech. Let's say you have hair that really should be cut off, meaning to say it reached the length that it's generally cut, but it wasn't cut off. Or tziporen ha'omid legazes, or let's say you have fingernails. Again, same thing. They're ready to be cut off, but they weren't cut off, so they're still attached. What's the halacha? Mi amrinan do we say? Kala omid ligzes kagazes dami. Anything that's ready to be cut is considered as if it's already cut. Odil mahashta miyo ha'mechubarn. Maybe we say no. Right now it's attached, and therefore it has a status that it's tummy. It's considered attached. And the Gemara says, "V'nifshad leim either Rava bar Chana." Why don't we answer from the statement of Rava bar Chana? Taima misham de gazas, because the way Rava bar Chana phrased it was that if it is cut, so then it's going to not be considered tameh. Halo gazas lo, but if it wasn't cut, so it doesn't matter if it's standing, if it's ready to be cut. And so the Gemara says, Hachi Kamar, no, this is what it is saying. Gazaz hareza galgalim. If it's cut off, so then it's for sure a mixture, he was saying. But lo gazaz, but if it's not cut, mi boile. So then in that situation, that was a question to Rava bar Chana. And the Gemara continues, Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah asks the following question: Rekev haba min ha'okev mahu. What's the halach if you have dust that comes from the heel? And the Rosh explains the question that around the heel there's a lot of skin that's already dead, and so maybe dust that comes from that area doesn't have the same status. Ki gamrinan rekev haba mikule meis. Maybe we only learn the halach of rekev if it comes from the entire dead body, meaning after death. That's when the rekev and the dead skin is developing. Avol da'asim and akev lo. But if it comes from the heel, maybe it doesn't have the status of rekev. Odil malo. Or maybe it doesn't make a difference. And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here the following proof. The Tani Rabbi Nassim Rabbi Yoshi, because Rabbi Nassim Rabbi Yoshi taught, Rekev haba mishnei mesim tameh, that if you have rekev that comes from two mesim, that's also tameh. V'salka daita chaba min ha'akev lo, and if you're going to say that if it comes from the heel, it doesn't have the status of rekev, so zil hacha dilma derech hakev kaasi, v'hacha dilma derech hakev kaasi. If you look at this body, so maybe it came through the hakev, through the heel. You look at the other body, maybe that came through the heel. How do you know that it should really be tameh? And the Gemara answers, Idi irkev kuli meis v'ka'asi derech akev hachinami. If the entire dead body was already decomposing and it came through the akev, so then if it came through the heel, everybody actually agrees in that case it would be tameh. Elahacha could go and the irkev chadever. The case over here happens to be specifically when only one of the limbs is decomposing, v'ka'asi derech akev, and therefore it's coming through the heel, again through parts of the body where there was already dead skin. That was the halacha. What's the halacha in that case? And the Gemara says, Teku. The Gemara leaves that as a question. And the Gemara continues, Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah asks the following question: Uber b'mei isha have galgalim olo. Let's say there's a fetus in the womb of a woman who died. So is that considered to be a mixture and is no longer considered to be rekev or not? Kevon do amar mar, since the master said uber yerechimo, that the uber is considered like the thigh of its mother. So hilkach gufo, so therefore it's really part of her body. V'lo have galgalin, it wouldn't be considered a mixture. O dilmar maybe kevon de sofo. Let's say since it was meant to eventually leave the body, mifresh parish mina, it's considered distinct, it's considered separate from her. V'imtim salomer, and if you're going to say uber de sofo lotzeis mifresh parish mina, that when it comes to a fetus, since it is going to leave the body, so therefore it's considered to be separate. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Nun Aleph Amud Beis.